This girl at work said something to me the other day, and I can't get it out of my head. Heard a baby around her. I was like, oh God, that's free birth control for me. And she's like, oh, that makes me think of my little baby. And I was like, yeah, I'm too selfish. I don't want kids. I have a dog. That's enough for me. A couple days later, she's like, so you don't want kids, but you have a dog. Do you have a boyfriend or anything? And I was like, no, I've never had a boyfriend. She was like, how old are you? And I said, 27. She's like, and you've never had a boyfriend? And I never really cared. But there's something about her saying that really hit me this time, because I've never been on even 2 dates with the same person. Even guys I've talked to or hooked up with, they'll slowly stop talking to me, and then I find out they have a girlfriend, or they get into a new relationship a week later. And when I was younger and I didn't have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, I'd be like, it's because I'm fat. I used to weigh 320 pounds. I lost 160 pounds. It's not like I'm being hit up every day, every week, even every month with people in my DMs or messaging me on Snapchat trying to get with me. It's no one hits me up. It's not even I'm being selective with who I'm picking and turning people away. It's just people aren't coming up to me, and I don't understand. Not I have an issue with people wanting to hook up with me, but if it tries to go a step further, they're absolutely not, no. I don't want to just hook up with random people that I don't know, so I'll tell people that I don't want to hook up with them until I know them, and then they're like, well, you're a prude. I'm I literally can't win. Why it's hitting me so hard this time is the fact that she had the audacity to ask, by choice? And I just sit there and I'm like, no, it's not by choice. When I was younger, I was like, oh, it's because I'm fat. Oh, it's because I'm fat. Once I lose weight, I'll have no problem. And now that I'm not fat, I'm just what is it? What is the reason? So now I'm gonna finish my energy drink and hit the gym until I can't feel my emotions anymore. Maybe that's the reason.
Society's obsession with single, career-driven women has officially hit insane levels. And frankly, it's about time someone said it. The narrative is flat out messed up. Everywhere you turn, movies, ads, TV, social media, you're pummeled with the message that if you're not grinding at a 9-to-5 and single, you're somehow lagging behind. This idea that women can only make it by climbing the corporate ladder, often at the expense of relationships and family, is nothing more than an outdated cultural glitch disguised as progress. It's all smoke and mirrors. Let's talk about how completely warped this is. Motherhood? Apparently that's old-fashioned, or worse, something to pity. The media's done a stellar job of selling loneliness as some glamorous personal choice, while conveniently glossing over the emptiness and isolation that so often accompanies it. And don't even get me started on feminism's constant thirst for validation. Now, being a solo powerhouse is treated like a competitive sport, and the idea of being alone has somehow morphed into a badge of honor. It's a joke. When did checking all the right boxes become the key to happiness? Real happiness? It's not about whether you're single or leading some high-powered career. We need to admit that the whole "you can have it all" mantra has set people up to feel perpetually incomplete. Instead of encouraging women to chase what truly fulfills them, we've allowed social standards to dictate their worth. Maybe it's time to toss those ridiculous scripts and start defining success on our own terms. Forget the damn boxes.
When a man wants to get married, he's only getting married truly for one reason. Because let me be honest with you women, the men can work and provide for themselves. He does not necessarily need you to cook, clean, and have sex, because he can get sex from multiple women. They're giving it out. A lot of them can cook and clean. Their mother taught them, or they can pay someone to get it. The culture is telling them, do not get married. So why would a man go past what the culture is telling him and choose to have a wife? Because with a wife, you can now have love, you can now have nurturing, you can have support, you can have affection. This is what he can't get from a roommate. So if that is not what you're leading with in your relationships with men, is love, support, nurturing, and respect, this is why your husband is now pulling away, because in the beginning you gave him those things. But as you got into the relationship, you got bitter, you got resentful, you start seeing his flaws, start counting that against him, you start measuring him against other men, and now you're pulling back on the love, the affection, and the nurture.
Feminism's relentless empowerment narrative is sending women straight into a pit of loneliness, and it's almost laughable how obvious the endgame is. The whole "you don't need a man to be happy" spiel? It's less about true independence and more like a blueprint for isolation. With society constantly pushing women to prioritize their careers and independence, they're being subtly coaxed into sidelining genuine, fulfilling relationships. The punchline? As they chase professional success and self-sufficiency, many find themselves alone, watching their social circles shrink while their work becomes the sole focus. This idea that women should be hyper-self-reliant, needing nothing and no one, is anything but empowering. It's a fast track to isolation. Financial independence and autonomy have been so distorted that relationships are now viewed as obstacles instead of partnerships. Needing someone, in this warped narrative, somehow becomes a sign of weakness, as if forming a bond contradicts success. Then there's the feminist disdain for traditional relationships. Painting marriage or committed partnerships as oppressive relics only pushes women further away from forming meaningful connections. This whole down with tradition mentality breeds distrust, leaving women running from relationships that could actually bring them the stability and companionship they crave. The result? A generation of women left wondering where all the good connections went, while drowning in the very loneliness they were promised they'd avoid.
The other thing a woman doesn't want, and no men really want to have around either, is a man who's actually weak and unskilled, who pretends to be moral and kind, not only to cozy up to women, but also to parade his weakness as moral virtue. You know, I'm not the mean guy, I'm not the bad guy. Well, the reason for that is you're too goddamn weak to manage that. And instead of just admitting that forthrightly and doing something about it, you parade it as a moral virtue.
The result? A full-blown epidemic of loneliness among women who've swallowed the feminist script whole. Sure, they've got the high-powered careers and a laundry list of achievements, but beneath all the glitter and gloss, there's often a hollow emptiness. The message that was supposed to set them free has, ironically, led them straight into a life of isolation, leaving them questioning if the independence they were promised was really worth sacrificing their emotional well-being. In reality, feminism's current trajectory isn't about empowerment anymore. It's a one-way ticket to regret and loneliness. The obsessive focus on self-sufficiency and career over absolutely everything else is creating a world where women are more isolated than ever, watching meaningful relationships slip through their fingers. All that so-called freedom they were chasing? Turns out it wasn't freedom at all. It was just a lonely illusion, with nothing but a cold, empty room waiting at the end.
The really emotionally connected woman who's super loyal and super loving, she can't be with a man who's super busy. She can't do it. She's too anxious. She misses him too much. She needs him home all the time. She needs predictability. She needs stability. She wants a home. She wants you to help her put the kids to bed at night. Whereas the woman that's like, yeah, you can go on business trips for a couple of months. Yeah, you know, I'll see you when I see you. She tends to be a bit more emotionally detached. So what happens is that man ends up not having his emotional needs met at work, and sometimes they can be missed at home as well.
It's undeniably pathetic how modern society has devolved into a place where genuine connections are slipping through our fingers like sand. People are out here chasing ideals that sound great on paper: independence, career success, total self-sufficiency. But in practice, they're learning the hard way that these pursuits come at a brutal personal cost. We're living in a time where fulfillment is marketed as something you can buy or achieve solo, yet loneliness creeps in quietly, swallowing them whole. Relationships, once the foundation of human happiness, are now treated like optional side dishes. It's no surprise when entire communities feel more disconnected than ever. With everyone scrambling to prioritize me, myself, and I, the shared sense of purpose and support that comes from close bonds is dying a slow, painful death. And that's a real loss, because people are missing out on the richness of being truly known and supported by others. This path we're walking down doesn't just breed loneliness. It destroys trust, shatters vulnerability, and tears apart the very fabric of our social existence. Keep going down this road, and we'll all end up isolated, disconnected, and wondering where the hell all the real connections went. It's tough to say, but at this point, it feels like there's very little hope left for women who've bought into the narrative that they can have it all without truly understanding the consequences. Society's current model is so broken that it's hard to see a way out. Women are told they should chase career success, financial independence, and total self-sufficiency while ignoring their emotional and relational needs. They're encouraged to devalue the very things, like family, community, and genuine human connection, that have historically provided fulfillment. The issue? Women are left empty-handed, with professional accolades but no real sense of belonging or connection. They're more isolated than ever, all while trying to prove that they don't need anyone. The culture has bred an entire generation of women who equate needing others with weakness, and now they're starting to realize that this empowerment is a lie. The more they run toward independence, the further they push away the very things they crave: love, companionship, support. But here's the bitter truth. The more women buy into this, the harder it becomes to get out. By the time they hit their 30s or 40s, many are too set in their ways, too embedded in a life that's left them cold and lonely. And let's be real, when they start looking for connection, they're not exactly attracting the kind of people who offer deep, meaningful relationships. At this point, it's not just about career or independence. It's about the fact that the emotional damage done is often irreversible. So no, the truth is, unless something shifts, unless women start questioning this entire narrative, it's hard to say that there's any real hope left for a fulfilling, connected future. The damage is done, and society keeps pushing them further into isolation, offering nothing more than fleeting success and a lifetime of loneliness in exchange. And that's it for today on Sigma Traits. Make sure you hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and don't forget to ring that notification bell. Support this channel through membership. You can also support through PayPal, link in the description. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. See you all tomorrow.